Welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for your support of our organization, this show. If you can, like, subscribe, share with your networks. We would very much appreciate it. And thanks again for your support. Our guest today is coming to us via Zoom, so we'll head to him, give him an introduction. He is a EMTP. He's a follower of Christ. He is an author of a book titled Safe and Effective for Profit, a Paramedic Story Exposing American Genocide. So we'll let our guest chat. And so, Harry Fisher, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. I guess we could just maybe get started talking about how your interest in being a paramedic and all that, for those that may be interested in that as a career, and then we can work our way forward.
Okay, no. Been an EMT since 1997. Interests, well, I liked helping people. I liked the thought of helping people. It was early on in my life, very early. I was young. My grandma she had cancer. She had brain cancer, and it was terminal. And I watched as my mom, was the caregiver. Grandma lived with us, and I would help, but what's a young kid gonna really help with? But so emotional support, and so I had it in me that it was a good thing to help people at a young age. My grandma was very spiritual. She was a minister, and I got to see her, ministering to people, and that also had a hand in where I'm at today. That said, it's not an easy road if you want to become a paramedic, if you want to be an EMT. There's a lot of hardships with it. There's a lot of spiritual warfare, just like in anything in life. But there's a lot of battles internally and externally. And nowadays, with all the mandates that they try to put on you, it's a very difficult process. So I would say do a lot of prayer, and then be ready to fight those spiritual battles that are going to come your way. But I've been an EMT since '97. Became a paramedic in 2012, 2013-ish. I've been in Army, Air Force, both as a medic. I work contract medic, and I've been doing contract medicine since basically COVID. So they sent me anywhere from New York City, North Dakota, just all over the place on contracts, working ERs, ICU, ambulance. And now I'm pulling contracts predominantly in Alaska. It's been a very interesting career choice, to say the least.
Yeah, thank you for your service. I really appreciate what you've done, and all our servicemen and women.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. So, helping others kind of planted the seed at an early age as you were growing up. Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? Like, I know I wanted to be, I think I said, an astronaut or.
I mean, it changed a few times. I mean, it was always seemingly a career choice of helping. At first, it was maybe fire department or maybe police officer, or and I landed on paramedic. It's, as far as wanting to be anything else, I never really wanted to do anything other than this type of work that I can remember anyways. I mean, there was probably one point in time I wanted to be just a cowboy or something like that, play cowboys and Indians. but no, it was always something like this. I mean, I've been doing it since I was, what was I, 17, 18? I mean, so I'm 40, almost about to be 44 now. So all of my life has been this. So when they tried to take it away, it was a big blow to me. I mean, whenever they tried to say, "Hey, guess what? You can't do this anymore. The only thing you really know," which I know more. Now, you try to put me to work under your sink, I'm probably not going to fix it. I can fix you, but fixing your sink, I'm going to need to call somebody. But when they tried to take that away, it was an amazing harsh moment in my life.
Yeah, so yeah, let's jump into that. I'm sure you had peaks and valleys along the way as you were an EMT and then became a paramedic. Can you describe or just share? And maybe there's not anything that matches kind of the pandemic, but was there any other point in your career where things kind of got heated or wild?
Well, I mean, it's every call's, I mean, anytime you hear the tones go off, we get tones. So
Okay.
you get toned out to something. You get toned out to a call, your radio goes off.
Okay.
And the call could be the worst call ever. I mean, you never know what's going to hit. I mean, so I experienced, a lot of calls that to this day, pre-pandemic, that still, I guess, haunt me per se to this day. So I guess the difference is it's where you had some calls that always were with you pre all of this. Now you've got a lot of all of this. It's just the amount, the drastic amount of bad, and then the amount of bad coming from our own government, our own governing bodies. So it's not. You not only have to deal with the mental anguish from the traumatic event that you're there for somebody while they're going through their worst moment, be it they're losing their child, be it they're going through just the most pain they've ever been through. Add on top of that, your government hates you.
Yeah, and that's as well. We'll continue to. It's very, very unfortunate. The government gets involved with just about anything. It's usually not somebody knocking at the door like, "Hi, we're from the government. We're here to help." It's not usually something that you want to hear. Can you talk to maybe a little bit about that mental side? Like you said, you're seeing, you're experiencing emergencies all across the board, and how do you process that on your kind of the mental side?
I went through a long time in my life where I processed it by getting off work and finding a bottle of alcohol and trying to drown myself in a bottle. A lot of medics do that, a lot of fire officers, and that leads to a lot of my friends committing suicide. That's not self-medication leads to suicide. Oh, I would say half the time, if not more. I've lost more friends to suicide now than COVID. I haven't lost a single friend that's a first responder to COVID. Not one of my frontline friends died of COVID, but since then I've lost a lot of friends to suicide. What helped me inevitably was just turning to God completely, giving it to God. Read your Bible. Not only read your Bible, but try to get to understand it. I mean, it's God's word, so I mean, literally our Maker's word. Why wouldn't we try to understand every word in there? And that to me, focusing on that, and then finding a partner in life that wants to focus on that with you, that to me is life saving. So that's what I do now to process.
Yeah, and I think as human beings, we're social beings, like being around people. So having the relationships are key. So you want to step into when COVID, when you learned about it, and just kind of those beginning days?
Sure. When I learned about it was early. I had a friend who was living in Wuhan, China. He's an ex-ranger, military guy living in Wuhan, China. And I get an email from him, and he goes, I don't want to say the words, but he cursed and said, "Bro, the apocalypse just happened." And I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" And he was like, "Entire Wuhan just shut down. Like, they just locked everybody down." And I was like, "What is Wuhan?"
Yeah.
Like, I didn't, I'm an American. I was just like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Imagine somewhere like New York City or bigger just shutting down overnight." And he was like, "People, are so scared. They're telling us that there's this virus that's going around. They're also telling us to wait for an email to see if any Americans want to be airlifted out of Wuhan," which he ended up getting airlifted out of Wuhan and went through all of that. But he had to leave his pet. And then he was also telling me that animals were being put into bags and people dropping them off of balconies, like literally just killing their animals. So the way he was describing it was horrible. So early on, I knew something bad was happening. I didn't know how bad, but my buddy didn't just freak out for nothing. He wasn't the type to just, oh my gosh, for nothing. So I knew that we were either up against a very deadly, something bad is happening, or we're being lied to. But at the same time, I'm one to go ahead and err on the side of caution. So I was, I got my family. I was still working, but I got my family and lived out in the country. And I was like, let's stay here. And it might have been 2 months of me wondering, okay, they're not shutting down flights from China. And then, it was weird. They're not really talking about this on the news. I was sitting there like, why isn't the president saying anything about what my buddy just told me is going down in Wuhan? Like, this is strange. So nothing was really adding up in my head. So what I told my family is I was just like, okay, well, we're either going to experience massive death really fast, or this is all BS. Yeah. Either or. Like, I was just where I was at, either or. And we didn't see the massive death real fast. But then we did see basically the trickle effect of, someone just got escorted out of the Thunder game, the basketball game. And then suddenly it was mainstream news. And then it was like, now everyone wants to lock down. And, everyone must wear a mask now, be 6 feet apart. So I got to see this very slow wave of weird all the way into suddenly a pandemic. Whenever we hadn't, I knew about Wuhan getting locked down months ago, y'all. Why didn't we stop the flights? Like, if it was that bad, why didn't we stop this? So either someone was wanting to kill us, or it really wasn't that bad, or I'm not 100%. I've got opinion, I've got thoughts on that, but it's all speculation, and I don't like to speculate, openly about that kind of stuff because it's conspiratorial. That being said, it was just weird. But when we did lock down and everything went crazy, we started seeing something called happy hypoxia, which should, to this day, be a major news story. And I'm so surprised it's not. But if you look up the mystery of happy hypoxia, they still call it a mystery to this day. And not all of our patients that were COVID positive had it. But if you had happy hypoxia, I knew you were this strange virus that was going around. Because happy hypoxic patients would talk just like me. They wouldn't turn blue. They were experiencing a little anxiety, and they would call 911 because of some anxiety. And you would put, what the O2 sat, the meter that we put on your finger? Yes. The oxygen meter? We put our oxygen meters on, and the people will be satting 40s and 50s. That's just insane. It makes no sense. All my textbooks, that doesn't make sense. At first, we thought our monitors were broken. We just thought, okay, because the people look fine, and they're supposed to be satting, 95 to 100%, and they're satting 40s and 50s and looking fine. And inevitably, we got this mass email from, it was actually Facebook. Because we have Facebook groups, and we had these Facebook groups with our services. And they said there's something called silent hypoxia. Your monitor's not broken. What some people are calling it happy hypoxia. These people are COVID patients. They're actually satting very low. We don't know what it is. And I would take, for a while there, I was taking, sometimes a few patients a week that had this happy hypoxia to the hospitals. And the last person that I can remember, she was talking to me about her poodles. Like we were just having a conversation about her dogs. I gave her a little bit of oxygen. And what I saw worked is just giving them a little bit of nasal cannula oxygen would bring their stats up, would ease the anxiety, and they would seem to be fine. Sadly, when we would get them to the hospital, which I learned whenever I worked in the ICU after, months later, we would get them to the hospital, and then they would medicate them for the anxiety. They would give them some anxiety medications, and then they would start to crump, and then we would quickly vent them because the doctors didn't know what this was either. Like I had doctors going, we have no clue why they're satting this low, why their blood gases look this low. So what they would do is they would treat the anxiety. The patient, when you treat anxiety with anxiety meds, patients start to get tired. They start to sort of crump because they're compensating. They're doing a heck of a job compensating. If they're statting 40, 50% and they look fine, their body's doing a really good job at compensating, like a miracle type job. Like I don't know how to put an emphasis on how wild it was. Like I was calling them, many of us were calling them zombie patients because no one can sat 40% and be talking to you just fine. It's like, I can do CPR on you. You can be dead. I can do CPR on you and get you into the 90 percentile with your oxygen sats. So these people were just that low. So they would vent them and the patient would die. So basically they would, this would happen, they would vent them, the patient would die. I never really saw anybody come off the vent. I mean, there are some miracle cases out there that made it off the vent, but I personally never got to see it. But that's something that everybody out there should look up is, the mystery of happy hypoxia. That's how I knew COVID was a thing. There was something there. What I did notice, though, is the people that stayed home tend to make it through it. I mean, that's why, Africa, I believe, had, a lot lower rates when it came to death. I don't think they were going to hospitals and getting vented. And so I would try to coach my patients when I was working in the ICU. I would be like, hey guys, you're going to get anxiety. Do the best you can to stay off of the vent because it's very bad outcomes when you go on the vent. So try to relax. And what I saw is the people that didn't get vented typically made it.
Wow. So, so many incredible points you made. Learning so much ahead from a buddy to how things unfortunately got started. So the happy hypoxia, that was like the first indication, like you mentioned, that the patient had COVID or
yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you had happy hypoxia, I knew you had whatever this COVID was. Because nowhere in my career, the doctors that I know's career, all the nurses that I know, none of us have ever seen happy hypoxia. I had one doctor say, quote unquote, it's the weirdest SHIT that I've ever seen before in my entire life. It's just something COVID is. And what did he say? He said, and if anybody tries to tell you they know what this is, they're effing lying to you. And that was in an ER while I'm standing in front of a happy hypoxic patient that they're starting to actually put on. They were putting this one on BiPAP because his anxiety was so bad. He was just really his anxiety was bad. So they were going to BiPAP him. And we were having this conversation and it was a surreal experience.
And your colleagues, how were they receiving, I don't want to say the news, but receiving patients? Were they seeing the same thing as you're alerting them? And
well, I was alerted by one of the colleagues first.
Oh, okay.
And he was a supervisor at the time who told a few of us, which I had already seen one patient like that at the time. And I'm pretty sure, I just thought my monitor was broken because the patient was fine. The patient seemed fine. and then started listening to it, and then we started seeing it like more and more and more. And it was, I mean, I don't know how better way to describe it other than imagine a group of medics standing around saying, "Did you have a zombie patient today?" Yeah, I had two. I mean, it was that weird. It was at one point in time I put on YouTube before I got banned on YouTube. I said, "This is like the weirdest zombie apocalypse I've ever seen before in my entire life. There's something going around that's making people sat so low that they should be dead, beyond dead, and they're talking to us." But I ended up getting banned on YouTube, and I can't access Facebook, can't access YouTube. So anything we were actually seeing on the street, you couldn't post anywhere. You couldn't post it on TikTok. You couldn't tell people.
Yeah, and that's really troubling because on so many levels, but really at the heart of it, you had facts, right? I mean, you were seeing these patients, you were seeing the monitors. It wasn't like, oh, well, I'm a conspiracy theorist, or you had like legitimate facts that were backing up what you were saying. You weren't just claiming something. And
if I could access my Facebook, you could actually, I wish I could access my Facebook, because you could go back then to that time where I'm talking to my colleagues, because I was having open conversations on Facebook at the time. And I said at one point, I said, the COVID tests don't work. They're crap. I said, let's just start putting O2 sensors on people's fingers. And if they're satting 50%, they have whatever this is. I was like, instead of y'all trying to test us at work, why don't you just put an oxygen sensor on us?
Wow.
I mean, yeah, but that's on Facebook years ago. I can't access Facebook.
Yeah, and then that raises a whole another issue of, the government and big tech suppressing, and so YouTube and Facebook are those the only two that you've been banned on?
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I didn't try Twitter much. Because I already realized, because I've tried to like post a few times, and I think they removed like just the posts. So I realized it was just like, and then it was just all so bad. So then I just started with the TikTok, because I noticed with TikTok I would get to like 30 or 40,000 subscribers, people that can watch, and then they would ban me. So I would at least get a little bit of traction, and then they would ban me. So to me, it felt like either I'm talking to the same people all the time, or maybe I'm picking up new people that are actually getting the information. But that's the one place that would let me get with a new account. I would have to create a new account, and it would let me pick up some. So I called it the TikTok wars. Basically, it was a banning of TikTok people, and there's a lot of us that just would keep getting banned like that. And we started making support groups of, I think they called it Patriot Pickup. Like, hey, Patriot Pickup, Harry just got banned again. And then they would pick you back up. So we were having to make backroom, not backroom deals, but backroom communication with people that are all getting banned. So we could, hey, when you get banned, you let us know in this group. And then we would all just start throwing your information out there again.
Yeah. And your thoughts on, obviously the banning, but the country, the government, our U.S. government, it's supposed to be land of the free, home of the brave, and the Constitution, and that was that equally as troubling as what was actually occurring?
It sickened me to my core, still does. The fact that they burned our Constitution. They literally held our Constitution in front of the American public and lit it on fire and then waved their middle finger at all of us. And most of the general public, out of fear, decided to just cowardly shut up. The few out there, and I would like to real quick talk to the few out there that didn't shut up, and you just fought those bans and you did everything you could. Good on you for standing up and at least just trying the best that you could during a very hard, just during trying times. Because mentally, whenever you're raised, like you just said, land of the free, home of the brave, we're strong. We do not bend when it comes to our right to free speech. We do not bend when it comes to our right to bear arms. We do not bend when it comes to medical tyranny. Whenever you're telling me I have to take an experiment to go to work, I have to take an experiment that I've seen kill people to go to work, and you're telling me I can't work, but I still have to pay taxes?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this whole thing reeks of communist China, I am so disappointed with our country, completely.
Yeah. It's as divisive as can be, and for you, having the facts, trying to share, which is usually a good thing, right? You're sharing like, hey, look out for this. Here's what I'm seeing. It should be vetted just like any other news source. But just to shut it down because of there's keywords or whatever they use, the big tech companies use. So we're going to close this episode out, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how your experiences are helping others on a massive scale, how X has helped give you a platform to do that, and definitely want to talk about your book. So, Harry, thanks for joining us on this episode, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And I want to thank you, our listeners, our viewers. We can't do this without you. Thank you for all that you are sharing towards us. And we want to give a big thank you to Harry Fisher to join us to talk about life, things that we've all experienced, and real facts. Go ahead and do your research, but the facts, what Harry's saying, shouldn't be banned. We don't believe in. As our organization, Voices for Voices, this is a voice that we want to make sure that is heard. So until next time, I am your host, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes, and please be a voice for you or somebody in need.